Kristaps Porzingis and the Mavs and Luka Doncic is the topic of discussion. Porzingis went on JJ Redick's podcast, and he was asked questions about the Mavs and his time with the Mavs and, you know, his time with Boston. Now, very good stuff that was in that interview. I want to break down some of the answers he had to some of the questions that JJ Redick got him or gave him. And it's very eye-opening for some of the things he was saying about the Mavs. And it kind of mirrors some of the things that I've been saying about the Mavs for a long time. So it's good to break this down, especially for Mavs fans that's been like, you know, I guess real apologists for Luka and the Mavs and all that stuff. And, you know, a lot of them been in my comment section saying that, you know, Luka absolutely has to play this way for whatever reason and all this stuff, man. We're going to get into all of it. Before I get started, man, make sure you hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on your way out of here. Let me know what you think about the video. If you're watching us from Facebook, head over to YouTube and give us a sub over there. If you're not already subbed, thumbs up, leave a comment, and share as well. This episode is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. This episode is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. So here's a word from the sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy sports. I want to tell you about the easiest way to get in on some NBA action with Underdog Fantasy and their pick'em game. Just find your favorite player or any player for that matter, pick higher or lower on that player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in one night. Pick between 2 or 5 players to fill your pick'em entry. Get every pick right, and you can net yourself some serious cash. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can get your deposit doubled up to $100. You got to check on the map to make sure your state is eligible to play Underdog Fantasy. But as soon as you do, and if your state is, go ahead and download Underdog Fantasy's app. Use the promo code ManDownSports, and you can, like I said, you can get that $100 match on your first deposit. And I would want to thank Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring Man Down Sports. All right, so let's establish one thing. Luka Doncic and Porzingis had a rocky relationship while he was in Dallas. You know, I think they had a lot of tick for tack going back and forth and stuff like that. JJ Redick kind of explained or described one of the instances that happened during a timeout. This is what he said.
And I only had my personal observations, but I was thinking about on the flight here today, I was thinking about, we were playing a game in Memphis, and Rick called a timeout, and Luka sat down. We had the 5 seats on the floor, and Luka sat down on one of the seats, and was he doing the Luka thing, you know, that he does, where he's mumbling a bunch of words, and it's clearly out of anger. We don't really know what he's saying, but he's, you know, saying things, and Rick takes him out of the game, and Luka reacts or whatever, and he's now like 10 feet away, and Rick was like, "Would you guys stop being babies?" And you go, "Why don't you tell Luka to stop being a baby?" And Rick goes, "Hey, Luka, stop being a baby." And I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, I like it. There's something there. There's something there.
Yeah. It sounded like there was something that was normal. And JJ Redick is just giving one example, but when you watch this interview, when you're listening to it, you could tell he was alluding to a lot of instances where they was having sit, you know, there was button heads and stuff like that, you know. And Porzingis, what I like about what he did in his interview is he kept taking the high road as much as possible, and he kept putting as much on himself, saying, look, you know, whatever the issue was and why it didn't work, I can only speak to what I could have done better, right? You know, and that was noble of him to do that. He didn't throw Luka under the bus or none of that stuff. So most of this stuff is going to be, for some people, they might feel like you're speculating. I like to call it reading between the lines, because, you know, you got to be professional. You know, you're still a player, so you just can't come out and just say certain things, because at some point, you know, you end up being the ship or the shipmate with loose lips that sink ships and stuff like that. So you don't want to be that guy who, like, look, I'm letting all the locker room stuff out. So you gotta be strategic about how you doing these interviews and stuff like that. So that's what I like about Porzingis. He's not letting the cat out of the bag 100%. But if you study mannerisms, facial expressions, and long pauses and laughs before you give these answers, or like when someone's asking you the question where they're kind of leading you on to a particular answer and you're nodding your head, you know, it kind of lets you know that, you know, it's it's some smoke there, right? So we're gonna break down some of these things. It's 3 responses he had that I kind of wanted to get onto, and kind of reiterate what I already believed about the Dallas Mavericks and how they run their offense and how it involves Luka and how it kind of alienates co-stars and role players, and it's a frustrating offense to play in, and that environment can become toxic for a co-star like Porzingis. So here's one of the questions he asked them.
All right, you brought up the Clippers series in 21. I think we talked about this during that series, but I just, Rick basically told you to go stand in the corner, and this wasn't going to be your series. I think I told you this. I had a similar series my last year with LA. We play game 1 in LA against the Utah Jazz. They're top blocking me from half court on. Rudy Gobert's in this massive drop off DeAndre. So there's nowhere for me to cut to. It's just not going to work, right? And Doc's after game 1 in the film session is like, JJ, this is not your series. Your role of this series is to go stand in the corner. So I think I averaged 6 points for the series. Had some awful shooting nights, 2 for 8, 3 for 7, whatever it wasn't. And I was really angry about, not even at Doc. I just was angry during it, after it. And a similar situation happened in that Clippers series. And I was in street clothes. So there's nothing I could do to really help you, but I just remember feeling a deep sense of empathy for what you were going through. What were your sort of emotions in that series? And then even just after the fact and sort of reflecting on that season and that series?
Yeah, that's no, honestly, reflecting back on it, I just should have just said, okay, this is what you want. I will do it like that to the best of my ability. But at that point, still, I was a little bit young and I was doing it, how you say, out of spite, on purpose, I will not move from this corner, that little bit of mindset, and it was not correct. But of course I played hard and I gave everything on defense, but a little bit of that was creeping up on me, that kind of feeling, and it's not a good feeling to play with. And,
no,
and you can of course find 1,000 reasons or 1,000 excuses and blame it on something else, but I could have done a better job that series, and that's it. And maybe
I feel the same way. I was all right, it's not my series offensively. I gotta go lock up Joe Ingles. I gotta do a better job of being disruptive on a George Hill pick and roll. I gotta figure out a way to actually help the team.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're in the middle of it, though,
it's tough. It's easier to talk about it now.
I just want plays to be ran for me, but no, just go stand in the corner.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want plays to be ran for me, but no, go stand in the corner. So JJ Redick is talking about a time where Doc Rivers told him to go stand in the corner during the series, and he's comparing it to Porzingis being told to go stand in the corner during the series. And I'm gonna tell you what the difference is about it. I understand they both was frustrated about it, but let me tell you the difference. The difference is JJ Redick is a role player at best. He's just there to shoot, right? He's just there to space the floor, spread the floor, right? So telling a shooter that's 6'3" or 6'4", telling a shooter that's your primary purpose of being on the floor, and you probably don't provide much else. Telling him to go stand in the corner to space the floor is one thing. I get it. But telling a 7'3" unicorn in his prime, who's healthy, who's your second best player and co-star with post-up ability and ball skills, where he can take a heavier or a slower guy like Zubac off the dribble to the hole. If he get a switch, like the Clippers like to play. I think at that time they probably, I don't know if they still had Montrezl Harrell at that time. I don't know, but that's a small 4-man that also plays some 5. Sometimes Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play some small ball 4. And there's a lot of times where you can get those matchups where you got this 7'3" unicorn in the post on someone like that. And for you to say we're not going to exploit that this series at all, and you tell your second best player and co-star, who used to be an all-star, who's a unicorn, who's in his prime, who's healthy, to go stand in the corner to space the floor so Luka can do his thing, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm gonna explain a couple of things. Now, to have a guy like Luka, right? And I let's put this in terms of weapons, right? Let's say Luka has a weapon, it's a heavy artillery weapon, and he's got his fully loaded with a clip, and he's got spare clips, right? The only other person on that team who got an arsenal like that on offense, who is heavy artillery, who got multiple clips and is fully loaded already, is probably Porzingis and maybe Brunson to a smaller degree. Brunson probably got a nice arsenal as well, right? But definitely Porzingis got that arsenal as well. To tell both of those guys that we know you're fully loaded, ready to go with extra clips, but you're only going to use a couple of your shots because we're going to let Luka empty his clip every single game. Luka comes out every single game and he empties his clip out. And then his co-stars is just getting, hey, look, man, you can, shoot every now and then, shoot every now and then. And then after the game, you criticize the guy who didn't have a lot of opportunity to get shots off. You criticize him for how many targets he hit. And the more you shoot in basketball or any other place, the more you get percolating, the more you get in rhythm. And when you're not in rhythm, it affects almost everything on offense, and then it starts spilling over the defense, right? Try to get a guy who can score, not getting the bucket, and then see how his defense drops off a little bit. Like it messes up everything, it messes up the synergy. And the way they run his offense in Dallas, Luka is the only one who's getting in a rhythm. He's got an easier task of what he does because he's doing what he can just do naturally, and he's got a huge margin of error because it don't matter if he's 0 for 15, he still go get the same shots. He's still running the same offense. It's still all about him. It don't matter. But if Porzingis go 0 for 5, they already not calling plays for him now. When he was in Dallas, they're already telling him to go stand in the corner. But imagine him standing in the corner and getting 5 shots from the corner, and he go 0 for 5 from the 3. You think they go call a play for him? No. So what type of rhythm can he get in, right? So that's my problem right there. You give your so-called best guy all the opportunity with a huge margin of error, and he can empty his clip out every game, and he can get in rhythm. And you tell his co-stars and role players, hey man, you can only do this one thing: catch and shoot, set screen, roll, and then come down here and play defense on the other end. And that defense better be locked down. Imagine telling the guy that you got one guy getting in rhythm, everybody else is just standing and watching, and you better hit the shot when he passes it to you. That's not how you do a co-star, right? Here's JJ Redick again explaining some stuff.
The second thing that I was excited about, and I know this has been a point of emphasis for Joe going into the year, was up more. He wanted the roster to be able to post up more, specifically you and Jason and Jalen. And again, like this is anybody can find this data anywhere. KP, this season you're top 3 in the league in points per direct post. You were second in the league last year, and you were top 15 in 22. Not a lot of people know that you were second in the league last year in points per direct post up. That part of your game, because I played with you, and it was something that I felt like at times we sort of went away from. Yeah. Do you feel like you've gotten better since Dallas? You figured out more? The one thing I've noticed a lot is, I think early in your career when you had smaller guys on you, you would turn and just try to shoot over the top. And now you're doing the Joel Embiid, Brook Lopez rip through, right, trying to bait the smaller guy to reach down on it. How just has your post offense evolved?
It has definitely evolved. Like, to be honest, like I wasn't that efficient in Dallas, and it's just the reality. I wasn't getting as many looks, so I never really developed like a decent rhythm. And you start to the sweep through isn't as good looking, and you don't get the foul, and then you miss, and it looks terrible. It's just like, and I was like, come on, man, I'm not like this can't be happening. So realistically, I wasn't as efficient in Dallas, and then and in Washington, I was getting more touches and got a good feel for it again, and good rhythm. And then just kept on improving, like looked at my game realistically, like where I wasn't efficient, what kind of shots I wasn't efficient at, and analyzed all those kind of things. And yeah, you could see it in the numbers. Last couple of years when I've really paid attention to it, it has went up.
Yeah.
Man, it's amazing what happens with more opportunity and more touches and more looks and getting in rhythm, right? So he took the high road again and said, look, it's on me. I wasn't efficient in Dallas, but then he said, I wasn't getting enough looks. I wasn't getting a lot of looks in Dallas. I wasn't getting a lot of post-ups in Dallas. If I did get a post-up in Dallas and I didn't score, then that was just more reason for them to say, we don't need to go back down there anymore. So imagine that feeling of, all right, we're running high screen and roll while Luka's in the game. And now out of 48 minutes, Luka's going to play, let's say 35, at the least. So that's 13 more minutes out there. So you telling me for 13 minutes a night, that's when I can finally get maybe a couple of post-ups. With the non-Luka minutes, Luka go out, I can get post-ups then, right? It's just not good to do that. It's just not good to do your co-star like that and say, look, man, it's all about Luka while he's in the game. But then when Luka goes out of the game, okay, now we can do some of your stuff. But Luka gets to do stuff with the first unit and with all the great players and his co-star. But the co-star got to wait till the best player go sit down before he can do his thing. How does that make it easier on him? Like the co-star is good enough to take pressure off of the best player. So like if I'm Porzingis and you're playing a team with a big man that like to block shots, leaving Porzingis to come over to protect the rim while Luka's driving to the hole. Porzingis is a shooter. He can knock that down for you. So he can help Luka out without the ball while he's in the game. But when Luka goes to sit down, if that's the only time that he's going to get post-ups, now the best player is not there. So is it a harder task for Porzingis to score with non-threatening offensive players on the court, or would it be better for Porzingis to get some of those post-up touches when the starting five is out there, including the best player? So you got to kind of look at those things like we're setting our best player up for success, but we're setting everybody else up for failure, right? We got an offense that needs Luka. We created this offense. We created an offense that needs Luka for it to operate. So what happens when Luka goes sit down? What offense is it then? If we're playing Luka ball, doesn't it need Luka? So you can't install an offense that relies on Luka and then expect when Luka goes sit down that this offense is going to thrive. You can't create a single point of failure, right? So, but yeah, I like that he described and he gave the numbers. He said, "Look, man, you were number 2 last year while you was in Washington in post-ups. Like, the points that your team get out of throwing the ball in the post to you. It might not mean that Porzingis got the points, but when you go into to the post of Porzingis, he was number 2 in what it produced as far as points. And I'm pretty sure number 1 was either Embiid or Jokic. Probably Jokic. I think Jokic was number 1. So imagine being number 2 right there. That means you was either in front of Jokic or in front of Embiid, and I think that's pretty good. So, and this is just a year removed from Dallas. And then the year before that, you were number 3. Right? So you got this time where he was good offensively. He had an all-star season. He averaged 22 or 23 points a game in New York as a third-year player. So you obviously can put the ball in the hole. Then you get to Dallas, and then there's a black mark on your career. And then immediately when you leave Dallas, you go back to having success. And then you get to Boston, and you even having more success. Right? So what does that tell you? Like the Dallas fans will tell you, he was hurt in Dallas. Right? But I kind of disagree. I mean, he did have that one injury that messed up his second or third season there. Yeah, he did have that injury. But if I'm seeing success, New York, black spot Dallas, success Washington, success so far in Boston, the evidence don't look good for what the fans is trying to explain and how they're trying to explain it away. What about his defense?
The third thing, rim protection. Top 5 this year in effective field goal percentage at the rim. Top 10 last year and top 10 the year before.
And thank you, JJ. That's nice of you.
I feel like now, especially after last year and how you played so far this year, now we can say like Kristaps Porzingis is a good defender. That was a huge knock though at times in your career. And I feel like at times even you got picked on, you got targeted. And now you're in a situation where you can play drop, you can play switch. The preparation for that, the work on that, like how did you improve over the last few seasons defensively?
Just I have to like take responsibility. Like when I was in Dallas, coming back, like my first year in Dallas, I don't know what the numbers say, but from field wise, I was pretty good. Second year when I got hurt, coming back from injury, man, I was so stationary. Like honestly, like realistically, the criticism that I was getting, it was, for a good reason. I wasn't as good defensively. And then again, my last year with Dallas a little bit, I think it was better, but here in Washington, I again really paid attention to it and try to improve and I try to bring it now here in Boston. And as you can see, the numbers are good.
The numbers are good.
I can tell you what helps people play defense when your best player is also a lockdown defender. Like Brad Beal played defense in Washington. He played defense. Kuzma was on the championship team with the Lakers. He was dedicated to defense, right? And then you go to Boston and you got Tatum, great defender. You got Derek White. You got Drew Holiday. You got Jaylen Brown. You got Al Horford. All defenders. All really good defenders. Most of them great, right? So, yeah, when you get in an environment where people really want to play defense, where they take defense serious, like because right now, Dallas Mavericks 25th defensive rating. That's down there with the non-playoff teams that don't even have more than 5 wins yet. Right? That's horrible. That's you down at the bottom. The points they're giving up on defense is about 118. Guess how many points they score on offense? About 118. You breaking even. So for every point you score, you give it up. Right? That's an indictment on your best player, because your best player is supposed to set the tone on both ends of the floor. You can't be the person that set the tone on offense and expect somebody else to set the tone for you on defense. That has to come from your best player. It's very small instances where your best player is just not engaged on defense or not locked in or can't play defense, and then they're successful. Some people would say the Warriors were successful with Steph not being a defender, but Steph is a really good defender, right? He got picked on by being sleight of frame by teams like Cleveland. They made him defend, but he's not a bad defender. He's been leading the league in steals. He chased people off screens pretty good. He got defensive principles. The effort is there. If you try to post him up, he's put on some muscle and he can withstand it a little bit better. He's no slouch. Go take another look. Same thing with Kyrie Irving. They're great defenders. Well, good. I say they both are good defenders, but the effort is there. So I can't think of the superstar that's not engaged. I used to think it was Jokic, but Jokic was engaged all last playoff with his defense. Very impressed. Right? Before that, when they weren't successful, he not so much. Last year, locked in. I like what I saw from Jokic on defense. But that's another topic for another day, because it's a little something extra there. But other than that, like what you expect when your best player is like that. I don't even think that it's taken 2 or 3 years for Jason Kidd to beat it in his head. I like what I see from Luka defensively a little bit this year. Sometimes he's putting the effort out, so I give him that. But it's not every night, and it's not for 4 quarters. It's not. And I had conversation with Mavs fans all the time, and they're okay with him not giving 100% effort on defense because they say he's doing so much on offense. It's okay for him to take rest on defense. Like literally, I had a Mavs fan tell me in the comment section on one of my videos that I would rather have 100% from Luka on offense and 50% on defense because without Luka's offense, we don't stand a chance to win a game. I'm like, how important do y'all think defense is? Do y'all think defense is just something that, like, that ain't nothing you can take lightly? You have to be doing both. You have to score and defend. I want the points from Luka, and I want lockdown defense from Luka. If I can't get locked down, give me effort. I want the effort on defense and the points on offense. I can care less about your rebounds and your assists because I'm paying a big man, 2 of them, my 5 and my 4, to get rebounds. I don't want you hunting rebounds. I don't want you hunting assists. I don't even want you to be my point guard. I want you to score relentlessly. Average 40 points if you want to. Take 40 shots if you want to. Right? But don't prioritize being the primary scorer and then also put the burden on your own back to get 8 to 9 assists a game. So you and then let defense fall by the wayside. The whole thing, the whole interview was kind of eye-opening. And for Mavs fans, like I don't know how you keep denying that it's very frustrating to play in that system for co-stars, man. I just don't know a lot of people. Like, I mean, we got Jalen Brunson when he left. He had his agent. His agent made a statement and was like, you know, basically, we feel like he's capable of doing more outside of that system. Like, he's got so much more basketball that he could showcase than being in that system. Because when you in that system, Luka is showcasing everything he can do, and everyone else is reducing what they can do to just play a particular role, which is fine because that happens everywhere. You have a superstar, and that superstar, the offense is ran through, and there's a lot of people that have to reduce their game. But most of the people that reduce their game are people that are vets who have made their money. They've played on teams that tried to lead a team by themselves, and it was, you know, unsuccessful for whatever reason. Maybe they couldn't get enough help. Maybe injuries kind of took some of their ability away, and they couldn't really carry a team like that no more for 82 games. And a lot of those players, in their latter years, would take a reduced role for a championship team. You know, for examples like that, there's people like Ron Harper. You know, he was with Cleveland. You know, injuries kind of took some of his ability away, and he couldn't be the guy for a team anymore. He couldn't be a focal point, and he went over and took a reduced role with the Bulls. Or you got, like Robert Horry. He won his 2 championships with the Rockets. You know, he was showing what he could do with the Rockets, but he would go from, you know, San Antonio to the Lakers to different squads like that, playing a particular role. And he had more ability, but this was in his latter years. Like, we have role players who take reduced roles to play meaningful basketball. That's what role players do. But not that often you see the co-star have to take a reduced role and not be able to show what they can do. And in this system, it don't matter who the co-star is. If you go all the way back to James Harden in Houston, every position that they had tried a co-star at, that co-star couldn't really help Harden enough because Harden was doing everything. You know, Dwight Howard, they tried him. He got frustrated and left. They bring in CP3 and Melo. Both of them got frustrated and left. They bring in Westbrook. He get frustrated and it blows the whole squad up. Like, so they've tried everything. And if you look at that blueprint of Harden and the Rockets, you see you bring in a superstar. You bring in D'Antoni. D'Antoni puts the ball in his hand, makes him a point guard, and put it and install that D'Antoni system, 5-man out basketball, high screen and roll. James Harden doing everything. Step back 3, become famous. All of that stuff. He's averaging 30, 35 points one year, you know, just putting up a lot of points. And he was getting a high volume of amount of assists as well because he's the point guard. He's the primary scorer. They run a high screen and roll. Every shot comes off of his pass, or mostly every shot comes off his pass. So that's going to be high volume assists as well. Huge numbers, but it frustrates co-stars, right? So he goes through D'Antoni, Well, first, before D'Antoni even showed up there, Kevin McHale is there with Dwight. That doesn't work. Kevin McHale gets fired. Dwight leaves. D'Antoni comes in, runs that offense. He's got Capella helping him out, right? Gerald Green, Eric Gordon, that he didn't really have a co-star, not one that was an all-star level. So it made sense for that to work because, like I said, the better the player, the more they're going to want to do. So the lesser the player, the easier it is for them to be okay with that role of just catching, shooting threes while this one guy do everything, right? So it's a mentality. It's a talent level and a mentality that you're looking for to put around a superstar like Harden or Luka. Right? The better they are, the worse it's going to be. And Dwight was an all-star, a team that led a guy who led a team to a championship. So of course he's not going to be okay with just doing what Clint Capella did, which was set screens and catch lobs. I want more than that. I want post-ups. I want some offense ran through me. I want a play call for me, right? So the better the player, the more problematic it becomes. I'm saying that for a reason. I'm about to get to my point. So Dwight Howard's gone. Kevin McHale's gone. D'Antoni's in. Eric Gordon, Gerald Green. Everything was cool. Then you want to, hey, look, we can't get over the hump. We need another star. So they bring in CP3. Okay, how is that going to work? CP3 is a pure point guard. You playing James Harden at the point guard. I know James Harden can play the 2. He played the 2 in OKC. So are you going to move James Harden to the 2 and then let the pure point guard CP3 a top 6, top 7 point guard of all time? Surely you're not going to take one of the best point guards of all time and tell him he can't be a point guard. That's exactly what they did. Harden was still the point guard. They had CP3 playing off the ball. Right? That's how problematic this offensive system is. You can't even let a pure point guard be a point guard. You can't even let a post-up center be a post-up center. Same thing with Porzingis. Stand in the corner. I can't even post up. I can't even get a play call for me. Point guards can't even be point guards. The same issue, Jalen Brunson, point guard, or pure point guard, couldn't do it in Dallas. Like the bigger guy, 6'5", 6'6", James Harden can move to the 2 or the 3. But instead, you move the smaller pure point guard to the 2 and play off ball. Same thing with Luka. He's 6'7", 6'8". He can move to the 2 or the 3 and let Jalen Brunson be a point guard. No, they make Jalen Brunson play off the ball. That's problematic. So you can't bring in a post-up center. You can't bring in a point guard to help you out because he can't play point guard. So that leaves you to wing players. That's the only thing that can come help this guy out is wing players. So what type of wing players exist? Okay, so you bring in Melo. He don't even help in the offense. Why? Because he shoots the long 2-pointers, and he wants the ball in ISO situation, and he want to post up as well. They wanted Melo only to shoot 3s. So you can't even get a wing that really help you out because you limit what the wing can do. The wing ain't gonna get an opportunity to take his man. He ain't gonna get an opportunity to post up. Just spread the floor, shoot 3s when we pass you the ball. That's problematic. It's hard to help that guy in that system because you're telling me I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't shoot 2s, I can't post up, I can't clog the lane, I can't run point. All I can do is stand at the 3-point line and catch and shoot. You can't run that system and then when things don't go right, say, well, he don't have help, right? You can't say that. So CP3 didn't work. Well, first Melo didn't work. They cut him after like 4 games. Let Melo go. Now that ain't gonna work. CP3 lasted a year, almost 2 years. He lasted 2 years. Then now he's gone. Let's try Westbrook, another point guard that can't even shoot. It was different for CP3 because at least he, he's a mid-range king, but at least he had the ability to knock down a 3 and play off the ball. So he did that. But Westbrook don't have that ability to be a 3-point shooter like that. He needs the ball and he needs to get downhill. That didn't work. So what did they do to try to make that work? Well, how about we trade Clint Capella and we start PJ Tucker, who's a 6'4" power forward. Let's start him at center. And they had a lineup of Westbrook, Harden, PJ Tucker at the center, Eric Gordon. I can't remember who the fifth guy was. And they tried to make that work for a while. And then that didn't work. Okay, D'Antoni, y'all tried everything. You got to go. D'Antoni's fired. Daryl Morey's fired. and James Harden's pissed. Oh, and Westbrook's traded to Washington, and now James Harden's pissed because he don't want to play with DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall. They've tried everything. They fired coaches, they fired GMs, they brought in Melo, Dwight, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, Westbrook, CP3, Clint Capella, Ryan Anderson. They've brought in so many different pieces to try to fit, but the truth is the only pieces that fit with that offense are very average to below average players, because those are the only people who are going to be okay with standing around and watching one guy do everything. So it's a catch-22. You're locked in. You can't get better pieces, because if you do get them, they're going to get frustrated and want to leave. They don't want to stand there and watch you play. Why they just stand and watch? They don't want to do it. So you got to get average pieces. And Philadelphia knew that with Allen Iverson. They didn't go get people that was on Iverson level, because Iverson was taking shots, but at least Iverson was off the ball and he let Eric Snow run point. But they knew, hey, look, we have a shooting guard that's undersized. As great as he is, he's an undersized shooting guard. So we know that every piece that we put around him got to be locked down defenders. Aaron McKee, great defender. George Lynch, good defender. Mutombo, great defender and shot blocker. Theo Ratliff, great defender and shot blocker. Eric Snow, good defender, right? Because that was probably going to be the weakest point of Iverson's game, since he's so undersized as a two guard. They made sure they got defenders around him. And guess what? Those defenders, when you get people that can defend very well, sometimes they're not the best offensive players. So they knew with that squad, Iverson, you got to bring a lot on offense, and you got to help on the defensive end too. But we know you can't do it so much. At least they knew that. At least no one was saying, oh man, Iverson didn't have this or that, and he and that. No, look, when you give Iverson someone like when you put him on Denver, and like, I hate when people say, well, if he had this type of talent, it would have been championship. Well, if he had that type of talent, he wouldn't have been able to play the way he played. And it was evident when he went to Denver. Now he's got the type of talent that everyone claims that he needed. He's got Kenyon Martin, he's got J.R. Smith, he's got Carmelo Anthony, he's got Birdman, he's got Nene, he's got can't remember who all. Vashawn Leonard might have been there shooting threes. He had a squad, and that squad, I mean, him and Melo both made All-Star that year, and they both was putting up 20 plus points, but it wasn't quite right. So it only lasted a year. Then they traded him for Chauncey Billups, and when Chauncey Billups came there, boom, with all that talent, the way Chauncey Billups play, it fit, it matches, and we can utilize everybody's skill set the way it's supposed to be. As a point guard that's setting everybody up versus a shooting guard that's undersized who want to shoot just as much as Melo. So it has to fit. You just can't say if he had these type of players, it's championship, right? Chauncey Billups came in, they went straight to the Western Conference Final. They could have went to the finals and won it, but Kobe Bryant and the Lakers they couldn't get past them, right? So my point in saying that is because I'm going back and forth with a Mavs fan, and that's exactly what he said. He said, bro, our starting role players are automatically bench players on other teams, which is not true, right? And they're not automatically bench players on other team. Kyrie Irving is not a bench player on other team. Everybody keep talking about how great Lively is. This is a guy who was one of the number one players coming out of high school, going to Duke with a lot of high expectations. Didn't live up to him all the way, for whatever circumstance and whatever reasons, but he comes in and it took what he's doing now. It took Tyson Chandler probably 5 or 6 years to get to. He's doing it already right now. Right, this kid is good. He's going to be first team all rookie, right? So he's pretty good. So he's not automatically a bench player on any other team. So that's 3 guys, not Luka, not Kyrie, not Lively. Now you want to get the Derrick Jones Jr. and Grant Williams. Grant Williams didn't start for Boston, but he played really good starter minutes, and he can start for a lot of other teams as well. I mean, he's pretty much what Dylan Brooks is, but without the ball handling skills. He can hit the three. He's hard nosed, big body, play defense, rebounds, all that stuff. These are good players. But my point is, okay, what player he said try to give Luka a roster like the Clippers, the Celtics, and the Lakers is automatic championship. All right, that's what he said. And my question to him was, okay, let's give him the Celtics roster. What offense they go play? All right, so let's do this scenario. And the only way he can get a roster like the Celtics is if the Dallas Mavericks can somehow convince someone that is the caliber of Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, and Holiday to sign with Dallas, right? Somebody that's the caliber of that. Well, he already had Porzingis, so I mean, you had him, so you had a guy like you had a guy like that, and then you had Woods, who's similar to Porzingis, you know, a big that can shoot and you know, take somebody off the dribble and block shots, and you know, similar size and all that stuff. So you didn't know what to do with neither one of them dudes. All right. Then you had Brunson. He's on the level of Drew Holiday. Didn't know what to do with him. Now you have Kyrie, right? Tim Hardaway is not on the level of Jaylen Brown. So I give you that. So if he was able to get somebody that caliber on his squad, what offense are they going to run? Right? Because now, all right, let's just talk about it. You got Drew Holiday. If Drew Holiday was on the Mavs right now, just like Kyrie is. Let's say you had Drew Holiday instead of Kyrie. You got Drew. Are you going to let him run point? Like if we gave Luka the players that they got in Boston, is Luka going to run point, or is he going to do what Jason Tatum is doing? Is he going to play off the ball? Because what makes Boston work is the fact that their best player is off the ball. Jason Tatum is off the ball. That gives Drew Holiday an opportunity to be a pure point guard. If we're not relying on Drew Holiday for points, then at least we can let him play his natural position and play the point guard. So now he can give you 10 to 12 points a game, but he's giving you 6 assists. Then they got a backup point guard in Derek White, who sometimes start. And he's a true point guard as well that needs to run the offense. And guess what? He runs the offense, score points, and he gives you about 6 assists. So you got a starting point guard and a backup point guard that's getting you 6 assists apiece. If Luka was on Boston right now, if you take Tatum off of Boston, you put Luka there, what would change? Now you got the talent that you claim that you want around Luka. Now you got that talent. Orford, Porzingis, Holiday, Brown, Derek White. Now you got that talent. What offense are you going to run? What are you going to do with those 2 point guards? And is Porzingis ever going to get a chance to post up? Is Horford ever going to get a chance to post up? Is Jaylen Brown ever going to get a chance to take his man as much as he do in the offense with Tatum? Because when Jaylen Brown has the ball and he's taking his man one-on-one, guess what Tatum is doing? He can either be a spread the floor guy who can catch and shoot if Tatum dishes out to him, or he can slash. Something that you don't see Luka do a lot. Move without the ball, slash. And catch and shoot is not his thing too, because most of the time after he gives the ball up, he either go stand somewhere and just stand there, or he's just at the top of the key waiting to get it back. He offers no value off the ball once he don't have it. So I'm asking the Mavs fans, what offense are you going to run if you give Luka this talent? If you put Luka on, if you switch him out with Tatum, is Luka going to be the point guard? Because if Luka's going to be the point guard, now guess what? Now you got a problem because you got 2 point guards already. So now that means White not going to get the minutes, who's a great defender, who's been doing one. He was so good that they was comfortable letting Marcus Smart go. Even if they didn't get Drew Holiday, they was comfortable with Derek White and let Marcus Smart go. That's how much they like White. You telling me this guy going to the bench now to play as many minutes as Seth Curry's playing? Because that's what's going to happen if you give Luka the point guard. If you give Luka the point, you can kiss Derek White's minutes goodbye. And then what's going to happen with Drew Holiday? Now he's got to play the 2 guard, like Kyrie Irving is playing. Now he's out of position. Now he's not doing his natural thing. And then now it's high screen and roll, step back threes, and Jaylen Brown is just going to be standing there in the corner like Porzingis. Porzingis going to be standing in the corner. It's not going to work. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. That's why I keep saying, if the Mavs really want to unlock what their potential really is, because the way they're playing now, the Mavs players are always going to look like they're trash. This is the same thing they said about all the Rockets players. Harden don't have no help. Same thing they said about all the OKC Thunder players. Westbrook don't have no help. Westbrook had PG3 and Paul George one year, and he had Oladipo as well. That offensive play style does not work. You cannot give your best player the ball and tell him to do everything on offense while everybody else standing at the 3-point line and expect them to actually help. It's not, I mean, that don't even make sense. So yeah, in the comment section, let me know what offense are they going to run if you give Luka the type of talent that they got in Boston. And let's not even talk about the Clippers. Replace Kawhi Leonard with Luka. Or replace PG-13 with Luka. Now you got Kawhi, Luka at the point, and then you got Harden and Westbrook, who are both point guards. What are they going to do now? Catch and shoot? We already know what Westbrook is capable of as a catch and shoot player. Not going to work. Harden don't want to do it. Kawhi ain't about to be no catching. It doesn't work, bro. In order to run the system that Luka is running, your players got to be average to below average. Like that's the best. Like the way they play, they need average players in order for it to work. The better the players, the worse it's going to be. They have to have average players to make that work. Like Iverson, like Harden, like Westbrook. It has to be average players or below average, because the better you are, the least you're very reluctant to play that style. You're not going to want to play that style. Porzingis didn't want to play that style. And that's what I got from the interview. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section.